The massive crystal dome of Nexus Prime sparkled with 1,000 colors as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting of the year. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Federation was always a show of power, and today was no different. In the center of the Great Hall, the most powerful species in the galaxy sat in their magnificent seats. The Velkari Empire occupied the golden section, their purple skin gleaming under the artificial suns. Their ships could destroy planets with plasma weapons that burned hotter than stars. Next to them sat the Thren Confederacy, covered in their famous quantum armor that could stop any attack. Their technology was so advanced that their smallest fighters could defeat entire fleets from lesser worlds. Around the edges of the hall, in the cheap metal chairs, sat the representatives of newer species. These were the races that had just discovered space travel. The galactic powers called them the primitives behind their backs, sometimes to their faces. Yuki Tanaka sat in one of those metal chairs. She was the human representative, and she had been coming to these meetings for 3 years now. Every year was the same. The big powers would show off their weapons, talk about their great victories, and ignore everyone else. "Look at the little human," whispered Fleet Commander Vextar of the Velkari. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "Still using chemical rockets to get around." "How cute," the other aliens laughed. Yuki kept her face calm, but her hands were tight on her chair. She had heard this joke many times before. High Arbiter Veltar stood up from his golden throne. He was the leader of the Velkari Empire and one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. His forearms spread wide as he spoke. "My fellow civilized beings," he said, his voice booming through the hall. "Today we celebrate another year of peace and order in our galaxy. Our combined fleets protect over 10,000 worlds from pirates, rebels, and other threats." The crowd cheered. Veltar continued. "We have also received several requests for membership in our defense coalition. Some of these requests come from species that have shown promise." He paused and looked directly at Yuki. "Others come from species that still think metal. Bullets are advanced weapons." The laughter was louder this time. Yuki felt her face get hot, but she did not move. "The humans," Veltar continued, "have asked to join our defense coalition. They want to help protect the galaxy with their primitive ships and their crude weapons." How amusing. What could a species that still uses kinetic projectiles possibly contribute to our advanced warfare? War Prime Kethara of the Thren stood up. His massive form was covered in glowing armor. "Perhaps we should be kind," he said with a voice full of false sympathy. "After all, they did manage to reach their moon using controlled explosions. That must have taken great courage." More laughter filled the hall. Yuki closed her eyes and thought about home. She thought about Earth, beautiful and blue, hanging in space. She thought about the billions of humans who had sent her here to represent them. She thought about the things her people had built in secret, the things these aliens had never seen. Far away on Luna Base above Earth's moon, Admiral Hana Kim watched the meeting through a quantum communication link. She was sitting in a dark room filled with screens and holographic displays. Next to her stood Commander Dae Kim, her second-in-command. "They are laughing at us again," Dae said quietly. His voice was angry. "Let them laugh," Hana replied. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. "They have no idea what we have built." She pressed a button on her control panel. The screen changed to show a massive construction site hidden in the rings of Saturn. Thousands of workers moved around enormous metal structures. Ships the size of cities were taking shape in the darkness of space. "Open a secure channel to General Tay Park at Titan Yards," she ordered. The screen flickered, and the face of General Tay Park appeared. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, but everyone in the human military knew he was the toughest commander they had. "Admiral," he said with a small smile, "I have been watching the meeting. Are you ready to show them what real power looks like? Is the Leviathan ready?" Hana asked. "All systems are green," Tay replied. "The crew is in position. The weapons are charged. We have been waiting for this day for 20 years. Hana nodded. "And the other ships?" "The Titan, Behemoth, and Ragnarok will be ready within the month. But the Leviathan alone will be enough to make our point." Back on Nexus Prime, the meeting was reaching its peak of cruelty. The aliens were now taking turns making jokes about human technology. They talked about how humans still used wheels on their vehicles and how they burned fossil fuels for energy. "I heard," said Science Admiral Velnara of the Velkari, "that humans still use projectile weapons in their ground forces. Can you imagine? throwing small pieces of metal at each other. The crowd roared with laughter. Some aliens were wiping tears from their eyes. Yuki had heard enough. She stood up slowly, her movement causing the laughter to die down. The entire hall turned to look at her. She was small compared to most aliens, but she stood straight and proud. "Distinguished members of the council," she said. Her voice was clear and strong, carrying to every corner of the great hall. "I have listened to your words about my people. You find our technology amusing. You think our weapons are primitive. You believe we have nothing to offer your great civilization." Veltar leaned forward in his throne. "And what do you have to say about this, little human?" Yuki smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Humanity formally accepts your challenge to prove our military capabilities." The hall went quiet. This was not what anyone expected. "We invite all of you to witness a demonstration of human technology," Yuki continued. "Please join us at the Kepler debris field in 7 standard days. Come with your best ships and your finest sensors. Bring your most advanced recording equipment." She looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of every major leader. "You will see exactly what human engineering can accomplish. I promise you it will be a demonstration none of you will ever forget." The silence stretched on for long seconds. Then Veltar began to laugh again. "A demonstration of what? Your chemical rockets?" "You will see," Yuki said simply. She sat back down and activated her personal communicator. "Admiral Kim, they have accepted. Begin final preparations." The message that went out from Nexus Prime that day spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The humans, the primitive species with their crude technology, had challenged the greatest powers in the galaxy to witness their military strength. Most aliens saw it as the funniest joke of the century. Some saw it as a chance for easy entertainment. A few, the wisest among them, wondered why a species would make such a bold claim unless they had something incredible to show. In 7 days, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. In 7 days, everything would change. News of the human challenge spread across the galaxy faster than light. On every world and every space station, beings talked about the same thing. The humans, those primitive creatures who still used metal bullets, wanted to show off their military power. Most thought it was the best joke they had heard in years. On the war world of Threnax Prime, Fleet Marshal Zixthara read the announcement to her officers. The massive alien woman was covered in scars from 100 battles. Her fleet had conquered 12 solar systems and never lost a single fight. "The humans want to show us their weapons," she said, and her officers burst into laughter. "I think we should go watch. It will be good entertainment for the troops." Her second-in-command, War Captain Velkon, wiped tears from his 4 eyes. "Should we bring the medical ships? They might hurt themselves with their own primitive technology." "Bring the entire ceremonial fleet," Zixthara ordered. "This will be a story worth telling for generations." On the crystal world of Akari, Admiral Kethmon was having a similar conversation with his science officers. The Akari were known across the galaxy for their recording technology. They could capture every detail of any event and replay it perfectly. "This is perfect," Kethmon said, his tentacles dancing with excitement. "We will record the entire demonstration. When the humans fail, we will have the perfect example of primitive arrogance to show other young species." Dr. Yan Kim, the chief scientist, prepared the most advanced recording equipment they had. "I will bring instruments that can measure every type of energy. When their weapons fail to work properly, we will have complete scientific data on why." But far away from the laughter and the jokes, in the hidden construction yards around Saturn, humanity was preparing for something the galaxy had never seen before. The Titan yards were the most secret place in human space. They were built inside the rings of Saturn, hidden from alien sensors by the planet's own magnetic field. For 30 years, humanity's greatest minds had worked here in complete secrecy. Chief Engineer Minho Lee walked through the main construction bay, checking every system one last time. Above him, stretching out like a metal mountain, was humanity's greatest achievement. The UHSV Leviathan was 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. It was not just a ship. It was a weapon that could reshape reality itself. "Status report." Minho called to his team, gravitational. "Cascade weapons are online." Reported weapons. Chief Sola Choi. "All 17 batteries are ready for firing." "Quantum entangled armor is holding steady," added Defense Specialist Gina. "Back. The plating can regenerate from any damage in real time." 0-point energy cores are at full power, finished power. Engineer Day-sun. We are drawing energy directly from the fabric of space itself. Minho nodded. Everything was perfect. But the most incredible part of the ship was still being loaded. In the deepest part of the Leviathan, scientists were installing the stellar compression cannon. This weapon could take the matter from a star and compress it into a projectile smaller than a marble. When it fired, it would release the power of a sun in a focused beam. Dr. Sola Choi had designed the weapon herself. She was humanity's greatest physicist, and even she was not completely sure how powerful it would be. "Are you certain this will work?" asked Captain Gina Park, who would command the Leviathan during the demonstration. "The mathematics are perfect," Sola replied. "But we have never fired it at full power. The test shots we did in empty space created artificial stars that burned for weeks." Captain Park was humanity's finest naval officer. She had commanded ships in the outer system for 15 years, fighting pirates and raiders, but she had never seen anything like the Leviathan. "How many people know about this ship?" she asked. "Less than 10,000, Minho replied. "Everyone who worked on the project signed secrecy agreements. Their families think they work on mining stations." The truth was that humanity had been preparing for this day for decades. When they first made contact with alien civilizations, human leaders realized they were seen as weak and primitive. Instead of trying to prove themselves immediately, they decided to play along. For 30 years, humans had shown the galaxy exactly what the aliens expected to see: chemical rockets, metal bullets, and simple technology. Meanwhile, in secret, they had been developing weapons that could challenge the gods themselves. General Tay Park arrived at the Titan yards to inspect the final preparations. He was the man who had planned this entire operation. While other humans felt ashamed of how the aliens treated them, Tay had seen it as an opportunity. "Let them think we are primitive," he had told the Earth Defense Council years ago. "While they laugh at us, we will build weapons they cannot imagine." Now, looking at the completed Leviathan, he knew his plan had worked perfectly. How many alien ships will be watching? He asked Admiral Hana Kim, who had arrived for the final briefing. "Our intelligence suggests at least 40 major warships," she replied. "The Velkari are bringing their newest dreadnought, the Supremacy. The Thren are sending their entire ceremonial fleet. Even the Akari are coming with their science vessels." "Good," Tay said with a cold smile. "The more who see, the better." Captain Park gathered her crew for the final briefing. They were the best humanity had to offer. Every officer had been chosen for their skills and their ability to keep secrets. They knew they were about to change galactic history. "Tomorrow we reveal who we really are," Park told them. "For 30 years we have hidden our true strength. Tomorrow the masquerade ends." Commander Dae Kim, her executive officer, raised his hand. "Captain, what if they attack us after they see what we can do?" Park smiled. "Then they will learn that the Leviathan is not our only surprise." The truth was that the Leviathan was just the first of humanity's secret fleet. 3 other Colossus-class battleships were nearly complete: the Titan, the Behemoth, and the Ragnarok. Each one was equipped with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. But the real secret was deeper than that. Human technology had not just advanced, it had evolved beyond what any alien species thought possible. While other races had focused on making bigger guns and stronger shields, humans had learned to manipulate the basic forces of reality. Their weapons did not just fire energy or matter. They fired controlled gravity, compressed time, and folded space. They had turned physics itself into a weapon. As the day of the demonstration approached, alien fleets began arriving at the Kepler debris field. They came expecting to see a joke. They brought their most advanced sensors to record human failure. Some even brought party supplies, planning to celebrate after the humans embarrassed themselves. Admiral Kethmon arrived first with his Akari science fleet. His ships were beautiful, made of living crystal that could bend light around them. He positioned his vessels at what he thought was a safe distance to watch the show. Fleet Marshal Zixthara came next with the Thren ceremonial fleet. Her ships were massive and covered in armor that could stop any known weapon. She ordered her fleet to form a viewing formation, ready to enjoy the entertainment. Last came the Velkari dreadnought Supremacy, commanded by War Prime Velkar himself. The ship was 5 kilometers long and armed with plasma cannons that could melt planets. Velkar had come personally to witness human humiliation. "Are all recording devices ready?" he asked his crew. Yes, War Prime, replied his science officer. We will capture every moment of their failure. But hidden in the shadow of Kepler's largest moon, something waited that none of them expected. The Leviathan hung in space like a sleeping giant, its systems powered down to avoid detection. Inside, Captain Park and her crew waited for the signal to change everything. The galaxy thought it knew what humans were capable of. In a few hours, they would learn how wrong they had been. The Kepler debris field was a graveyard of dead worlds. Millions of years ago, this solar system had been destroyed when its star went supernova. Now only broken rocks and metal fragments drifted in the darkness, lit by the distant glow of nearby stars. It was the perfect place for a weapons demonstration. Admiral Kethmon floated on the bridge of his flagship, the Crystal Dawn. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of all the ships that had come to watch the humans make fools of themselves. 47 major warships from 12 different species had gathered for the show. This is the largest gathering of military vessels in peacetime history, reported his tactical officer. Everyone wants to see what the primitive humans will do. Kethmon's tentacles curled with amusement. Begin recording everything. This will be studied in military academies for centuries as an example of species overconfidence. On the Thren flagship Eternal Conquest, Fleet Marshal Zixthera was having similar thoughts. She stood in her command center, all forearms crossed over her massive chest. Her officers were placing bets on how badly the human demonstration would fail. I give them 5 minutes before something explodes, laughed War Captain Velkon. Their primitive chemical systems are probably already breaking down. You are too generous, Zixthera replied. I predict total system failure within 3 minutes. The most confident of all was War Prime Velkar aboard the Velkari Dreadnought Supremacy. His ship was the newest and most powerful vessel in the Velkari fleet. Its plasma cannons could destroy anything in known space. He had come here to remind everyone why the Velkari Empire ruled the galaxy. When this farce is over, he told his bridge crew, we will demonstrate what real military power looks like. Perhaps we will vaporize a few asteroids to show these humans how it is done. None of them noticed the small human ships that had been quietly moving into position around the debris field. These were ordinary destroyers and cruisers, the kind the aliens had seen many times before. They looked exactly like what everyone expected from human technology. Metal boxes with chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. Captain Yuki, Tanaka watched from the bridge of the human destroyer Soul. She had been given the honor of starting the demonstration. Her ship was equipped with standard human weapons, but she knew what was coming next. All human vessels, this is Captain Tanaka, she broadcast on all frequencies. We are beginning our demonstration of human military capabilities. Alien observers, please maintain your current positions for safety reasons. Several alien commanders laughed openly at this warning. Safety reasons? From humans? The demonstration began exactly as everyone expected. Human ships fired their kinetic weapons at asteroid targets. Metal projectiles struck rock, creating small explosions and debris clouds. It was primitive, crude, and completely unimpressive. Is this supposed to be a joke? Asked War Prime Velkar. My personal sidearm has more power than their main guns. Perhaps this is some kind of cultural ritual, suggested Admiral Kethmon. Maybe they are trying to honor us with a display of their ancestors' hunting methods. For 20 minutes, the human ships continued their pathetic display. They fired railguns and missile weapons, achieving results that would not have impressed a first-year military cadet. The alien observers were beginning to grow bored. I'm starting to feel sorry for them, admitted Fleet Marshal Zixthera. This is just sad to watch. Then something changed. The space around Kepler's largest moon began to shimmer. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist like heat waves rising from hot metal. Alien sensors started showing impossible readings. What is that? Asked Kethmon's science officer, staring at her instruments in confusion. Before anyone could answer, space tore open like fabric being ripped apart. The UHSV Leviathan emerged from its hiding place like a mountain rising from the sea. 15 kilometers of black metal and impossible geometry slid silently through the void. The ship was so large that it blocked out entire starfields as it moved. Every alien bridge fell into stunned silence. By the void, whispered Fleet Marshal Zixthera. How big is that thing? Her tactical officer was frantically trying to get accurate readings. Marshal, my sensors cannot measure its full length. The ship extends beyond our scanning range. On the Crystal Dawn, Admiral Kethmon was having similar problems. All recording devices are malfunctioning, reported his chief scientist. The ship is generating some kind of field that interferes with our instruments. War Prime Velkar was the first to recover from the shock. It is just a large ship, he declared. Though his voice shook slightly, size means nothing. Our plasma cannons can destroy anything. But even as he spoke, the Leviathan's weapon systems began to come online. Massive gravitational distortions rippled through space as power flowed to the ship's main batteries. Nearby asteroids began to drift toward the human vessel, pulled by artificial gravity fields. Captain Gina Park stood on the Leviathan's bridge, surrounded by displays that showed information no alien had ever seen. Her ship's sensors could detect quantum fluctuations, measure dimensional stability, and track the flow of time itself. All systems are green. Captain, reported Commander Dae Kim. Gravitational cascade weapons are charging. Stellar compression cannon is ready for firing sequence. Park nodded and opened a channel to all the watching alien fleets. When she spoke, her voice was calm and professional, as if she were discussing the weather. Observers of the Galactic Federation, you are witnessing the UHSV Leviathan, humanity's first Colossus-Class battleship. This vessel represents 30 years of human research and development. Please maintain your current positions for your own safety. 30 years? Gasped Admiral Kethmon. They have been building this for 30 years? The implications hit the alien commanders like a physical blow. While they had been laughing at human primitive technology, humanity had been secretly developing something beyond their comprehension. Target selected, announced Weapons Officer Sola Choi. Asteroid cluster at bearing 270, distance 50,000 kilometers. The target was a group of large asteroids, each one bigger than a space station. It would take a normal fleet hours to destroy them completely. Stellar compression cannon is charged and ready, Sola continued. Gravitational field is stable. Reality anchor points are locked. Park gave the order that would change galactic history forever. Fire. What happened next was beyond description. The Leviathan's main weapon did not fire a projectile or an energy beam. Instead, it compressed a small piece of stellar matter into a space smaller than a marble and accelerated it to near light speed using controlled gravity. When the compressed star struck the asteroid cluster, it did not explode. It converted matter directly into energy at the quantum level, creating a brief artificial star that illuminated the entire solar system. The light was so bright that alien ships had to activate emergency filters to protect their crews from going blind. The energy release was so powerful that it registered on sensors hundreds of light years away. When the light finally faded, the asteroid cluster was gone. Not destroyed, completely converted into plasma and scattered atoms. Where there had been solid rock moments before, now there was only empty space filled with glowing gas. Impossible, breathed War Prime Velkar. That was not a weapon. That was a controlled stellar event. His science officer was staring at her instruments in shock. War Prime, the energy readings do not make sense. That single shot contained more power than our entire fleet's combined output for a year. Across the alien fleets, the same scene was playing out. Commanders and scientists stared at their sensors, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The readings were beyond anything in their databases. Admiral Kethmon's tentacles were curled tight with fear. How is this possible? They were supposed to be primitive. Captain, his communications officer called out. We are receiving thousands of priority messages from across the galaxy. Everyone wants to know what just happened here. The recording of the Leviathan's demonstration was already spreading through galactic networks. On every world, beings were watching humans do something that should have been impossible. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Captain Park allowed herself a small smile. Demonstration complete, she announced to the alien fleets. This concludes today's exhibition of human military technology. She closed the channel and turned to her crew. Take us home. I think we have made our point. As the massive human battleship began to move away, the alien fleets remained frozen in shock. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had just been proven wrong. The humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They had been hiding their true capabilities for decades, and now the masquerade was over. The balance of galactic power had shifted in the span of a single shot. The news spread across the galaxy like a wildfire consuming dry wood. Within hours of the demonstration at Kepler, Every major world had received the recordings. Within days, there was not a single being in civilized space who had not seen the footage of humanity's impossible weapon. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. On the Velkari homeworld of Velthara Prime, Empress Zara Lin called an emergency session of the High War Council. The massive palace had not seen such urgent activity since the last Galactic War 300 years ago. "Show me the recordings again," she commanded, her 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display. The footage played for the 20th time that day. The alien leaders watched in silent horror as the human weapon erased the asteroid cluster from existence. Each viewing made it seem more impossible, not less. Science Admiral Vel Nara, the Empire's greatest military researcher, spoke first. Her voice trembled as she delivered her report. "Empress, I have analyzed the energy readings from 17 different sources. The power output from that single shot was equivalent to our entire battle fleet firing continuously for 6 months. "That is impossible," declared War Marshal Kekstar. "No ship that size could generate such power. Their technology is primitive." "Apparently not," Velnara replied coldly. "The humans have been hiding their true capabilities from us for decades. While we laughed at their chemical rockets, they were developing weapons that manipulate reality itself." Empress Zara Lin felt something she had not experienced in centuries: fear. The Velkari Empire had ruled through superior firepower for over 1,000 years. If humanity possessed weapons like this, everything was about to change. "How many ships like this do they have?" she asked. "Unknown, Empress. Our intelligence on human military capabilities has proven to be completely worthless." Across the galaxy, similar meetings were taking place on every major world. The Thren Confederacy held an emergency assembly. The Akari Republic convened their Science Council. Even the mysterious Zeth Collective, who rarely spoke to anyone, sent urgent diplomatic messages. On Earth, President Kira Nam sat in the Global Defense Council chamber, watching reports flood in from around the galaxy. Every few minutes, another alien government was requesting immediate diplomatic contact. Species that had ignored humanity for decades were now desperate to talk. "Ma'am," reported Foreign Minister Boram Lee, "we have received over 300 requests for meetings in the past 6 hours. The Velkari want to discuss mutual cooperation agreements. The Thren are offering technology exchanges. The Akari want to establish a joint research program." President Nam smiled grimly. 3 days ago, they would not return our calls. Now they cannot contact us fast enough." General Taypark entered the chamber carrying a secure data pad. "Madam President, I have an update on Project Colossus." "Speak freely, General." "The Titan, Behemoth, and Ragnarok will be ready for deployment within the month. Construction teams are working around the clock. We also have preliminary designs for 12 additional Colossus-class vessels." The room fell silent. Even the human leaders were still adjusting to the reality of their military power. 15 Colossus-class battleships, President Nam said slowly. "Each one capable of destroying entire fleets." "Yes, ma'am. But that is not our only advantage." General Park activated his data pad, and holographic displays filled the room with technical information that would have made alien scientists weep with envy. "Our true breakthrough was not just in weapons technology," he explained. "We have revolutionized our understanding of physics itself. While other species focused on bigger guns and stronger shields, we learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality." Dr. Sola Choi, who had designed the stellar compression cannon, stood to address the council. She was humanity's greatest physicist, but she looked tired. The past few days had been the most stressful of her life. "The aliens think our weapons are advanced," she said. "They have no idea how advanced. The stellar compression cannon is actually our simplest design. We have weapons that can fold space, compress time, and manipulate gravity." "What do you mean?" asked President Nam. "We can make enemy ships age decades in seconds. We can create artificial black holes that target specific materials. We can even make objects exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just achieved military superiority. They had achieved something approaching godlike power over the physical universe. But the effects of the demonstration went far beyond government meetings and military planning. Across the galaxy, ordinary beings were struggling to understand what they had witnessed. On the trading station Deep Market, located in neutral space between several star systems, the news was causing chaos. Crime Lord Vexter, who controlled the largest black market in the galaxy, was fielding desperate offers for human technology. "I will pay 1 billion credits for a single human weapon blueprint," offered a Thran weapons dealer. 2 billion for any information about their power systems, countered a Velkari. Industrialist of Exterzen. Multiple eyes gleamed with greed, but he was not stupid. "Fools," he growled. "Do you think the humans will sell weapons that can destroy planets? They are not idiots." Still, he quietly sent his best spies toward human space. If there was any way to steal or buy human technology, he would find it. In the scientific community, the reaction was even more intense. Dr. Yan Kim of the Akari Republic had spent her entire career studying advanced physics. She considered herself one of the galaxy's leading experts on energy manipulation and exotic matter. The human demonstration had made her realize she knew nothing. Their weapons are not just advanced, she explained to her research team. They are based on principles we have not even theorized. They have somehow weaponized fundamental forces that we barely understand. Her assistant, a young researcher named Telvara, raised a tentacle nervously. "Doctor, could we reverse engineer their technology from the sensor readings?" Dr. Kim looked at the data they had collected, then laughed bitterly. "We cannot even understand how they generate that much power, much less replicate it. This is like trying to build a star with stone tools." The social effects were just as dramatic. On worlds across the galaxy, the established order was crumbling. For centuries, military strength had determined political power. The strongest species ruled, and the weakest served. Now everyone was weak compared to humanity. On the Velkari colony world of New Velthara, riots broke out as citizens demanded to know why their government had not detected the human threat. The Velkari military had promised them safety and dominance. Now they learned that a single human ship could destroy their entire defense fleet. Similar unrest erupted on Thren worlds, where the warrior culture was built on the idea of military supremacy. How could they maintain their honor when primitive humans had surpassed them so completely? But perhaps the most significant change was happening in the diplomatic corridors of Nexus Prime. Ambassador Yuki Tanaka, who had been ignored and mocked for years, was now the most popular person on the station. "Ambassador Tanaka," called out diplomat Velchar of the Velkari as she walked through the station's main corridor. "Might I have a moment of your time?" Yuki turned to face the alien who had laughed at her just days before. "Of course, Diplomat Velchar. What can I do for you?" "The Velkari Empire would like to discuss establishing closer ties with humanity. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting between our leaders?" Yuki smiled politely. "I will pass along your request to my government. They will consider it along with the other 297 requests we have received this week." Velchar's purple skin darkened with embarrassment. He was not used to being dismissed by anyone, let alone a human. As Yuki continued walking, she was approached by Trade Minister Kexithera of the Akari Republic. "Ambassador, the Akari would be honored to host a cultural exchange program with your people. We have much we could learn from each other." "How interesting," Yuki replied. "Last week, your government voted to deny humans access to Akari trade routes because we were technologically incompatible. Have your views changed?" Kexithara's tentacles curled with shame. "Perhaps we were hasty in our assessment." The power dynamic had completely reversed. The species that had dismissed humanity as primitive were now desperate for human attention and approval. But Admiral Hana Kim knew this was only the beginning. As she stood in her command center on Luna Base, watching the flood of diplomatic requests and intelligence reports, she understood that humanity had started something that could not be stopped. The galaxy would never see humans as weak again. But that also meant they would never trust humans to remain peaceful. Fear and respect were close neighbors, and both could lead to dangerous places. The real test was yet to come. 3 weeks after the demonstration at Kepler, the galaxy was still trying to understand what it had witnessed. Diplomatic channels buzzed with activity as every major power tried to position themselves favorably with humanity. Trade agreements were being rewritten. Defense treaties were being reconsidered. The entire balance of galactic civilization was shifting. Then the long-range sensors detected something that made everyone forget about politics. Dr. Yan Kim was working late in her laboratory on Akari Prime when the emergency alert came through. As the Republic's chief astronomer, she was responsible for monitoring the deep space sensor network that watched the galaxy's outer rim. "Doctor," Her assistant Telvara called out, her voice tight with fear. "You need to see this immediately." The holographic display showed the edge of the galaxy, where the last stars faded into the darkness of empty space. For millions of years, nothing had come from that direction. Now 17 massive objects were approaching at incredible speed. "What are those?" Dr. Kim asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "The sensor signature matches historical records," Telvara replied. "Doctor, I think they are devourers." The word sent ice through Dr. Kim's veins. Every civilized species knew the legends of the devourers, ancient machines that consumed entire star systems, converting matter into energy to fuel their endless journey across the universe. They had last been seen 3,000 years ago, leaving behind only dead worlds and broken stories. Most scientists thought they were myths. The evidence suggested otherwise. "How many?" Dr. Kim asked. 17 confirmed contacts. Each one is approximately the size of a small moon. They are moving at 0.7 light speed and will reach the outer colonies in 6 months. Dr. Kim immediately sent priority alerts to every government in the galaxy. Within hours, emergency sessions were being called on every major world. The Devourer threat was something that made human superweapons seem like a minor concern. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session for the second time in a month. But this time, nobody was laughing or showing off. The chamber was filled with fear. High Arbiter Veltar stood before the assembly, his usual arrogance replaced by grim determination. "Fellow beings, we face a threat that has not appeared in our galaxy for 3 millennia. The Devourers have returned." Holographic displays showed the sensor readings from across the galaxy's edge. 17 massive objects, each one easily the size of a space station, moving toward inhabited space with relentless purpose. "Our historical records indicate that the Devourers are self-replicating machines," continued Veltar. "They consume everything in their path, planets, stars, entire solar systems. They convert all matter into energy to fuel their journey across the universe." Fleet Marshal Zixthara of the Thran stood up, her scarred face grim. "What are our combined fleet strengths?" "Can we stop them?" Science Admiral Velnara of the Velkari accessed her datapad. "Our combined forces include approximately 4,000 capital ships, 12,000 cruisers, and 30,000 support vessels. In theory, we should be able to overwhelm them through sheer numbers." "In theory," added Admiral Kethmon of the Akari. "But historical records suggest their technology adapts to any attack. Ships that fight them report that Devourer defenses become stronger after each engagement." The chamber fell into worried silence. Every species present had advanced weapons, but none had ever faced an enemy that could adapt to any attack in real time. Then Yuki Tanaka stood up. The entire assembly turned to look at the human ambassador. After the demonstration at Kepler, nobody dismissed her anymore. But this was different. This was a threat that could destroy galactic civilization itself. "Ambassador Tanaka," Veltar said carefully, "does humanity have anything to contribute to this discussion?" Yuki activated her personal communicator and spoke briefly in human language. Then she looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of leaders who had mocked her just weeks before. "Humanity offers its full military support in the fight against the Devourers," she said. "Our fleets will stand with the Galactic Coalition." Relief flooded through the chamber. If the humans were willing to use their impossible weapons against the Devourers, perhaps there was hope. But Yuki was not finished. "However, there are conditions." The relief turned to tension. What conditions could humanity possibly demand at a time like this? "First, humanity will take operational command of the combined fleet. Our tactical doctrine will be followed by all vessels." Several alien leaders started to object, but Veltar held up his hand for silence. They needed human weapons. They would have to accept human leadership. "Second, all participating species will share their complete military databases with human command. We need to know exactly what resources we have available." This was harder to accept. Military secrets were closely guarded by every species, but with extinction as the alternative, they had little choice. Third, after this crisis is resolved, humanity expects full membership in the Galactic Council with voting rights equal to the founding species. Now there were real objections. The Council had maintained its power structure for thousands of years. Giving humans equal status would change everything. But Admiral Kethmon spoke up. "Ambassador, do your weapons have any chance of actually stopping the Devourers?" Yuki smiled grimly. Our preliminary analysis suggests that Devourer technology adapts to conventional energy weapons and kinetic attacks. However, they have never encountered gravitational warfare. We believe our weapons may be uniquely effective against them. That decided the matter. Within an hour, the Galactic Council had voted to accept all human conditions. Humanity would lead the defense of the galaxy. The news reached Earth just as Admiral Hana Kim was reviewing the latest intelligence reports. She had been expecting this development, but it still felt surreal. Humanity had gone from galactic laughingstock to supreme military commander in less than a month. Admiral, General Tay Park reported, all Colossus-Class battleships are ready for deployment. The Leviathan, Titan, Behemoth, and Ragnarok are fully operational. We also have 15 conventional fleets standing by. What about the new weapon systems? Hana asked. Dr. Sola Choi entered the command center carrying classified data pads. The reality anchor technology is ready for field testing. We can prevent the Devourers from using dimensional phasing to escape our attacks. And the quantum cascade weapons, fully operational. We can disrupt their molecular cohesion at the subatomic level. Admiral Kim nodded. Humanity had been preparing for this kind of threat longer than the aliens realized. While other species developed weapons to fight each other, humans had always wondered what they would do if something came from outside the galaxy. Now they were about to find out. High Commander Zethara of the Thren. Confederacy was the first alien leader to arrive at the human command center on Luna Base. She had fought in more battles than any other living commander, but she had never served under alien leadership. Admiral Kim, she said formally as she was escorted to the war room. The Thren fleet is at your disposal. What are your orders? Hana looked at the alien warrior with respect. Zethara was putting aside centuries of Thren pride to serve under human command. That took real courage. Commander, we need to understand Devourer capabilities before we engage them. I want your fastest ships to conduct reconnaissance missions at the galaxy's edge. It will be done, Zethara replied. But Admiral, my warriors are trained for direct assault. This defensive strategy feels wrong to us. I understand, Hana said, but the Devourers are not like any enemy you have faced. They learn from every attack. We need to be very careful about how we engage them. Over the following days, alien commanders arrived from across the galaxy. Fleet Marshal Zixthara brought her entire battle fleet. Admiral Kethmon contributed the most advanced sensor ships in the Akari Navy. Even War Prime Velkar swallowed his pride and placed his forces under human command. Captain Gina Park stood on the bridge of the Leviathan, watching the largest fleet in galactic history assemble around her. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all united under human leadership. It should have been humanity's greatest moment of triumph. Instead, it felt like preparation for the galaxy's last battle. Captain, reported Commander Dae Kim, reconnaissance ships are reporting Devourer movement. They have reached the outer colonies. 3 solar systems have gone dark. Any survivors? None. The Devourers consumed everything, planets, moons, even the local star. They left nothing but empty space. Park closed her eyes for a moment. Billions of beings had just died, and this was only the beginning. The Devourers would not stop until they had consumed the entire galaxy, unless humanity could stop them with weapons the universe had never seen before. Signal the fleet, she ordered. We move out in 6 hours. It is time to show the Devourers what happens when they threaten our galaxy. The real war was about to begin.